Hi, Uncle Thor here. Today we're going to talk about the Lagu Rune. And not so much the rune, but the results of what happens if that rune is not given its full expression. Lagu represents a lake and represents waterways. And one thing about waterways that are alive, that stay lively, is that they have a flow to them. Streams, rivers, creeks flow. Brooks flow. When they don't, they become backed up and they become stagnant. Lakes that don't have an outlet become stagnant. Even the ocean, though, has its flow. It has the tides and the deep undercurrents. So even when it doesn't seem so, there's motion there. Because when there is no flow, there's stagnation. It becomes stale. It becomes stinky. It becomes dead. It has this awful feel to it, a feel of something missing. It's lifeless. If you ever seen a stagnant pool, stagnant pond, there has to be flow or the life goes out of it. We can even see this when we apply it to other runes. This idea of flow of Lagu is applied to the Fey rune. Money. There's an economy, there's a flow. Money has to be put into use. If you just leave it there, it becomes stagnant. And it loses its value due to inflation. It's doing nothing. I worked in a hobby shop about 10 years ago, and the hobby shop was having a hard time. The woman who owned it was an accountant, and all she saw were dollars and cents. And so on several of the shelves, there were kits and there were model trains that had been there for over 10 years. Those shelves weren't doing any good. She was someone who wouldn't listen to advice. She was going to get every penny for those things, no matter what. There was no flow. Those shelves were stagnant. A smarter shopkeeper would have sold those things off even at a discount just to get the cash to buy new products that would sell quickly. Because in a retail business, there has to be flow. Those shelves have to empty themselves. You don't want to have anything on the same shelf for more than 6 months. So without the flow, the business didn't do too well. And it was stagnant. And yes, she did eventually close because she just didn't bring new life into the store. My whole time working there, I think I had 2 really busy days. I worked there for about 4 or 5 months. And that's, again, because people come in wanting something new, but there's stuff there that just isn't moving. You have to cut your losses sometimes to get back into the flow of things. I know if it was me, I'd find out what people want. I would have got that stuff off the shelf and I would have had stuff up there that moved, whether I like the stuff or not. I want stuff that moves. So that's an idea of flow in business, the idea of money having a flow. Your own circulation in your body, you need that flow. You can't be stale and stagnant, even in mind. I had 2 great aunts. One was a retired school teacher, and she was fascinated with everything. She was blind. She was blind from old age. At the time, she was well into her 80s, late 80s, but she would have a fascinating conversation. She was into the space program, her favorite baseball team, whatever the latest news was. And so when we used to stop by to say hello, we always had a good time. We always had to give ourselves a couple hours because it was always fun to go over just to talk with her. She was really something. She had been a school teacher in the days of one-room classes. I guess you'd call that multitasking. And she was one who said, when you stop learning, you stop living. Then we had another great aunt in the town up there, and all she did was watch soap operas, and the place was like this cave. It's like it hadn't changed since 1947 in there. And her and her daughter sat and watched soap operas, and that was the main thing in their conversation. And there was that stagnation. There wasn't that flow of life. There wasn't that flow of interest. So we wanted to get out of there as quick as possible when we were making the rounds. It was just one of those things where you can actually see it in action. You don't want to stagnate. You want to stay interested. That's one way to keep from stagnating. Stay interested in life. Stay interested in something. Take an active interest in it. One of the things we need is involvement with people. That's how we're built. And to keep that lively too. Because to sit and do the same old thing and stay in the same old place, you become stagnant. You become stale bread. So Lagu, the lesson is, let it flow. Go with the flow. Allow it to flow. Don't let it just flow wherever. Direct where you're flowing, but don't dam it up. Don't stop it from flowing. That's the rune. That's your life. You have to stay lively. And again, one of the byproducts of staying lively and alive is another rune, and that's the Wunjo rune, joy. Joy does not come to stagnant places. It comes to places where there's life. So Lagu, in this sense, is a rune of life, of circulation, of freshness. People don't think of that, but it's a rune of freshness, a rune that always refreshes itself. See how that works for you. But by all means, avoid stagnation in mind, body, spirit, emotions, and the life around you. Stay alive, because the alternative is not good. This is Uncle Thor. Have a good one.